Welcome to the world of the Transgo High Performance Shift Kit. In this video presentation, we'll show you step by step how to install this AOD High Performance Reprogramming Kit. You'll love it. This transmission is about to come alive. This AOD High Performance Kit contains 4 separate packages of assorted springs and parts mounted on a blister pack. Please don't open any small packs at this time. You'll find written instructions, upper and lower valve body gaskets, and a pan gasket. Please refer to the written instructions as you go through the tape. These are the tools required to do the installation: a jack, jack stands, drain pan, funnel, speed handle, 8 and 10 millimeter sockets, center punch, 1/4 inch punch, small screwdriver, ice pick or scribe, medium screwdriver, small hammer, true arc pliers, regular pliers, external pliers, shop rags, drill, transmission fluid, cleaning solvent, and filter. See page 6 of the instruction sheet. You may need a 1/4 inch steel check ball and a hard piece of metal as shown. Let's road test the vehicle to see if the transmission is in good working condition. Does it have all 4 forward gears and reverse? Start with some light throttle upshifts and feel for the 1-2, the 2-3, and the 3-4 shift. This will tell us if the valve body is working normally. Then try some upshifts at 3/4 throttle to see if the clutches and band are in normal condition. Okay, let's get started. Raise the hood and remove the dipstick. Jack the vehicle up and support it with sturdy jack stands. Does your transmission look like this? If not, you're working on the wrong transmission. Place the drain pan under the transmission. With a 10 millimeter socket and a speed wrench, loosen all the oil pan bolts except for one toward the rear. Pry the pan loose with a screwdriver, remove all the other bolts, then loosen the last bolt slowly while allowing the fluid to dump over the edge of the oil pan into your drain container. Holding the pan up, remove the last bolt, take down the pan. Notice that there aren't any metal filings which would indicate a problem. There is some deposit, which is normal. Set the pan aside. Using the 8 millimeter socket, remove the 3 oil filter bolts. If your transmission oil is still hot, protect your hands with a rag. Have the drain pan in position for the fluid that will run out of the filter and valve body. Place the bolts and filter in the pan. The valve body is held in place with 24 bolts. With an 8 millimeter socket, remove all the bolts except one at the rear and loosen that one 1/2 turn. Remove the rear bolt slowly while oil dumps into the drain pan. Lay the valve body in the oil pan. The converter will continue to drain, so be sure that your drain pan will hold at least 10 plus quarts of oil. Take the valve body to your workbench. To keep your bench clean, leave the valve body in the oil pan. With an 8 millimeter socket, remove the bolt next to the manual valve. Notice where the notches are located. Now, switch to a 10 millimeter socket and take off the 3 covers. Put the covers and bolts in the pan. Lift the separator plate off the valve body. Remove the gaskets from the separator plate and set the plate aside. Notice there are several check balls and 2 springs with poppet valves in the valve body. Turn the valve body over so that the check balls and springs will fall into the oil pan, and let the valve body drain. Don't worry, the instruction sheet will tell you where these parts go. Now is a good time to take a break and read the instruction sheet carefully. Let's get real familiar with the kit instructions before we continue. When you're ready, let's start at page 2, step A. Turn off the tape now if you want to stop. Okay, let's continue with page 2, step A. The first job is to install the transfer tube. Remove from pack 1 the transfer tube, the cotton swab, and the 1/8 inch drill bit. Leave the manual valve for now. The transfer tube will be in this position when installed. Step A shows us to drill a 1/8 inch hole straight down through this passage. Let's just identify this area on the valve body. It's this channel right here. Mark the spot to drill with a small center punch. Prepare the area by rinsing with a solvent. Now, turn the can over to blow dry, like this. Break the cotton swab in half and push the cotton end into this corner of the passage. This will stop drilling chips from entering the boost valve area. With the 1/8 inch drill and motor, locate the punch mark and drill straight down through the casting. Flush the area with the spray solvent and blow dry. Pull out the cotton swab. Here's the hole. Let's continue with step B by removing the manual valve E-clip and the valve. Lay them aside. Now go to step C. Locate the channel for our next hole. This is the channel right here. This hole has to be drilled at the correct angle. To do this, set the drill bit into the channel close to the inside edge and tip to the outside wall. Notice the angle of view on the end. It should look like this. Drill through the casting carefully. Drill only as much as required to get through. This will ensure we do not oversize the hole. Using the solvent spray, flush the area of drilling chips. Let's turn the can over for air only to blow dry. Lay the valve body over on a shop rag and allow to drain. Looks good. Insert the transfer tube, stepped end first, into the angled hole by tapping with a small hammer. Then the other end. That completes all the steps on page 2. Let's go to page 3A. Now open pack 2 and remove the small sub-pack. It contains a steel bushing, O-ring, a 3/16 inch ball, orange spring, and a cotter pin. Install the O-ring onto the bushing. Drop the steel ball into the bushing bore, next the orange spring. Now use a small flat blade screwdriver to compress the spring down far enough to install the cotter pin through the holes. Bend over the ends close to the bushing so they will clear the valve body. Turn to page 3, step A, the 3/4 shift valve. Now use these parts from pack 2. It's the new 3/4 valve, white and red springs. First, using the other half of the cotton swab, push the stick end into this channel. We're doing this to wedge the throttle modulator or TM valve so it won't fall out. Use a small screwdriver and, with your thumb against the end plug, remove the retainer and set it aside. The end plug may require some pushing in and out before it comes out. This one came out easily. But if yours is stuck, you may have to pry it carefully with a small screwdriver. These parts, shown in the lower left box on page 3, can now be discarded. If the TM valve falls out, carefully align and reinstall it now. Be sure that the TM valve is against the barrier as shown. Stand the valve body up on edge and drop the new white and red springs into the bore. Insert the new 3/4 shift valve, wiggle it slightly, and push in gently until it slides into the bore. Push the valve in deeply and insert a paper clip into passage 2 to hold it in place. Find the pre-assembled governor limit valve, lube the O-ring, install the valve, and install the retainer. Now, remove the paper clip and cotton swab. Check that the cotter pin does not interfere with the sidewall. Let's count to the right 4 valves to locate the accumulator in step C. Open pack 3 and find the black bolt. Screw it into the end of the plug. Now push in slightly to remove the retainer clip. Be careful, these clips like to fly. Pull the plug out using the pliers on the bolt. Remove the spring, the valve, and the inner spring if it has one. Here we see the layout of 2 different types of accumulator valves. This one on the left is the late type and has a hollow bore at both ends. It would assemble like this: a white and orange spring inboard and an orange and tight wound blue outboard. This valve body uses the early type. It doesn't have an inner bore at the small end. So we'll be using this layout. It has a hole in the big end only. Let's install the white spring into the valve body, then the valve, and then an orange and tight wound blue outboard. Install the O-ring in the groove on the hollow end of the plug. The flat end of the plug installs first. The hollow end of the plug goes outboard. Some oil on the seal will help the end plug install easier. Push it in and install the retainer. Look here. The new plug goes in a little further than the old one. In step D, we will replace the capacity valve and spring with our new valve and green spring. Screw the black bolt into the end plug. Remove the retaining clip and using the pliers, pull out the plug. Remove the valve and spring. Install the new valve and spring into the bore, spring end first. Now install the plug and retainer clip and remove the screw. Let's go to page 4 and continue. Push the boost bushing in slightly and remove the retainer. Gently work the plug in and out until it comes out. Reach in carefully with a mini screwdriver and remove the springs. Cut open pack 4 and find the large green and smaller black springs. Place the new springs onto the spring seat as shown. And into the bore. Reinstall the boost bushing and retainer. Let's go to step B. This change is to obtain a higher speed shift back into first. Notice there are 2 valves and 2 springs. You will be reusing the outboard spring, so be sure to catch it when it pops out. Reach into the bore with an ice pick or small screwdriver and pry the outboard retainer upward until you can grab it and pull it out. Catch the spring and put it aside. To remove the valve, take out the inner retainer. This will help push the valve out. Now remove the inboard spring. Install the new small green spring, and using a medium screwdriver that fits in the end of the spring, compress it and reinstall the retainer. Reinstall the low control valve and the original spring in the same manner. Now we can go to step C. Let's insert the new manual valve into the valve body and install the E-clip. Okay, in step D, we want to plug this channel right here. Here we see a white and black grommet, pin, and steel wedge that we will use to do the job. Try each grommet to see which one fits snug. In our case, it's the white one. In yours, the black one may fit better. Push the grommet in with the small hole facing up. Press in the pin, and now the steel wedge down into the channel on the right-hand side of the grommet. This is what yours should look like. In step E, page 4, we will install the check balls. There is one 5/16 orange ball and 6 1/4-inch check balls. They are located in these pockets. Some valve bodies may have a cup orifice and spring like this. If it does, it will go into this pocket. Spring first, then the cup. The pocket in the lower left corner of the valve body does not get a check ball. There are 2 bypass valves on the left side of the valve body. Install the springs and valves as shown. On some models, the lower valve has a long stem. Now recheck all the check ball locations and set the valve body aside. Look at page 5 for separator plate drilling procedures. There are 7 holes designated for change in the separator plate. Use the drills provided by matching them against this picture in the instruction sheet. Hole A and hole K will be drilled with the same size drill bit. Locate the 063 drill from pack 4. Mount it in the drill and drill holes A and K. Notice this model has no hole A. Let's just drill K. Holes B and E will be drilled with an 055 bit. Locate the 055 drill bit from pack 4. Drill locations B and E. Hole C will be drilled with the 042 drill bit. This may be too small for your drill. We had trouble with ours. So we wrap the shank with some Scotch tape to build it up, like this. Yes, that did the job. If you find that hole C or any other hole is larger than the bit suggested, resize as per the instructions on page 6. We used a hardened race from a C6 trans. Place the plate hole we want to resize over the race like this. Put a steel ball in the hole and smack it with a hammer. Now the hole is smaller, so now let's re-drill it. Hole T and X will be drilled with the 125 bit. Use the drill we found in pack 1. We can't drill X because it is a slot on this model. Deburr the holes and clean the plate. That completes our hole drilling procedure. After the drilling has been completed, lay this gasket on the valve body and position the separator plate. Using 2 long valve body bolts as alignment dowels. Now, locate and position the 3 plates on the separator plate. Remember to position the notches, like this. Install all the bolts and tighten. Don't forget the 8mm bolt next to the manual valve. Oil the separator plate. Now, let's put the last gasket on. Notice how it fits over the plates. Let's clean the pan and the bolts. Now put all the bolts and the valve body back into the pan. Also put the orifice and the 3rd accumulator seal, tapered yellow and large blue springs into the pan at this time. They're in pack 4. Don't forget the filter gasket, and pan gasket. Let's take these parts to the car. Turn to page 6. Locate the hole in the case that we want to install the orifice into. It's right here. Start the orifice into the hole, tapered end first. Tap it in with a punch and a small hammer. That looks good. Let's go to the 3rd accumulator piston, located here. Remove the snap ring, cover, spring, and piston. Remove the large seal and install the new black one. It may be rubber or Teflon. Now, lay the blue and yellow springs, tapered down, on the piston like this, and push it up into the case. Install the original spring, cover, and the snap ring. It may take 2 people to do this. One to push the cover up, the other to install the snap ring. Holding the valve body up, start 2 long bolts at these locations, 2 or 3 turns. As we push the valve body up into position, index the manual valve with the shift arm lever. This spring-loaded lever next to it has to push on the TV valve. Now finger tighten this short bolt in the center hole. Remove the 2 long bolts and install the remaining bolts like this, short ones on the ends. The long ones go in the rest of the holes. When you tighten this bolt, make sure the roller lines up with the notches on the shift arm. Tighten all the bolts evenly. Recheck them again. The manual lever looks okay. The TV plunger looks okay. The tube is held in place by the filter. Rehook the TV balance spring into the notch on the plate, like this. Check your new filter. It must have a rubber seal and a square gasket. The square gasket is furnished in pack 4. Get the 3 short filter bolts and install the filter. Make sure they're tight. Using 2 bolts to align the gasket, start the threads. Install the rest of the bolts. Now, tighten them evenly. Use the funnel to add 8 quarts of transmission fluid. Check the shifter for all positions. Start the engine in park and wait 15 seconds for the oil to circulate. Now, select reverse, neutral, overdrive, 3, and finally 1. Be sure to hold the brake and go back to park. Add another 2 quarts of fluid and recheck the level. Look, we're just below the full mark. That's just right. When it warms up, it will be full. Let's get the car back on the ground and go for a road test. First, make a series of light throttle upshifts, checking that we have all 4 gears. Now make some 3/4 throttle shifts. Notice the difference in feel from the first test? Try manually holding first, second, and third gears. The transmission will not shift to 4th gear anytime the lever is in the 3 position. Take the car back to the work area and recheck the oil level. Make sure there are no leaks. We hope you have as much fun using this high-performance kit as we had in making it. And we thank you for choosing Transgo high-performance transmission products, created for today's muscle car enthusiast.